Tonight on Reporting Scotland, a rescue operation is underway after an avalanche in the Highlands. 2 men have been flown to hospital. It comes as 1 walker dies and 2 others are rescued on the southern uplands. Also in the programme, a man who abducted and raped a 15-year-old girl on her way home from school is jailed. 1 in 4 Scots faces a mental health problem every year. How new self-help courses might ease the strain on the NHS. Dundee United's chairman apologises for what he calls an abysmal performance against Motherwell. George Clooney launches the Glasgow Film Festival, but sadly he's only on the big screen. Good evening. It's been a day of drama and tragedy on Scotland's mountains. A hill walker missing overnight with 2 companions in the southern uplands died in hospital, while a search for 2 young climbers on Ben Nevis was called off after the search and rescue helicopter was diverted to an avalanche in the Highlands near Speen Bridge late this afternoon. There, we understand 2 climbers have been rescued. Craig Anderson is at the scene for us tonight. Craig, what can you tell us?
Jackie, you can probably hear that there's still a search and rescue helicopter in the sky above us here, and dozens of members of more than 1 mountain rescue team have convened here as well. They are here waiting for word as to whether they have to set out this evening to see if there are more people that have been avalanched on Craigmeggy. Craigmeggy, a very popular mountain for people to go climbing and walking, and especially at this time of year with winter conditions. And today there were quite a few people on the mountain. What we understand is that several people saw the avalanche happen. They saw the debris of the avalanche, and they also saw belongings of people that had clearly been caught up in it. 2 people, as far as we know, have been airlifted to hospital at the Belford Hospital in Fort William. Their conditions are unknown, at least officially at the moment, although 1 we understand may well be serious. And as I say, the members of the mountain rescue teams who are here waiting to find out whether there is any likelihood that there will be more people up on the mountain and that they may have to go and do a night search for them.
Craig, you and of course that rescue helicopter were involved in the search for a couple missing on Ben Nevis earlier today. Any word on that operation?
No, well, Tim Newton, who's 27, Rachel Slater, who's 24, both from Bradford in Yorkshire. They've been missing now. Well, they were reported missing on Monday, but there's been no confirmed sighting of them since Sunday, or in fact since Saturday. They were believed to have been climbing Ben Nevis. Both of them experienced mountaineers. Their tent was found, their car was found, and although it was too dangerous for the mountain rescue team to search for them this morning, this very same helicopter, as you say, was called in this afternoon. It made a brief search of the area before it was diverted here to Craigmeggy, but unfortunately no trace of them was found. I spoke to the leader of the Lochaber Mountain Rescue Team a short time ago. He said, of course, there are always hopes, but clearly as time goes on, those hopes, that optimism that they may be found safe and well, starts to fade.
Thank you very much, Craig. Well, as I said earlier in the day, 3 hill walkers missing overnight in the southern uplands were found by search teams, but 1 of the men was pronounced dead in hospital. His 2 companions are being treated for hypothermia. Willie Johnson reports.
An intensive search began last night when the 3 hikers failed to return from a planned walk in the Lowther Hills near the village of Durrisdeer, north of Thornhill. They were named as Geoffrey Stewart, aged 74, George Crosby, who's 73, and 64-year-old Bobby Thompson, all from Dumfries.
Experienced hill walkers, familiar with this area. We know they parked up their car at Durrisdeer yesterday. The car's still here. They've went for a walk. They were expected to return between 2 and 3:30 and they didn't.
At its height, the search involved police, 4 mountain rescue teams, the Search and Rescue Dog Association and a Coast Guard helicopter from Prestwick. Conditions last night were described as appalling.
The guys were saying out on the hill they could barely stand up. It was literally blowing people over last night. Visibility was very, very low, so searching was really, really difficult.
The men had left no details of their intended route, and the search extended over an area of around 40 square miles. It ended at lunchtime. News came through just after 1 o'clock that the Coast Guard helicopter had located the men in open countryside, around 4 kilometres from Durrisdeer. They were said to be in a poor condition. The crew took them on board and transferred them to hospital in Dumfries, around 20 miles away. It's since been confirmed that one of the men was pronounced dead at the hospital. The other 2 are being treated for hypothermia. Willie Johnston, reporting Scotland, Durrisdeer.
A man who abducted and raped a 15-year-old girl on her way home from school in Dunfermline has been jailed. 26-year-old Mark Armstrong subjected her to a harrowing ordeal lasting more than 30 hours. Katrina Renton reports.
Mark Armstrong had spent the days beforehand assaulting and robbing women in Dunfermline town centre. Then, on Thursday the 12th of March last year, he committed the crime that was today described as cruel, depraved and inhumane. He kidnapped the girl as she returned home from school, threatened her with a knife, forced her into the grounds of a derelict cottage and raped her. That, and what followed, shocked detectives with years of experience.
It's horrific what this victim, 15-year-old girl, has been subjected to. There is really nothing I can compare this to. It's the worst thing I've dealt with in my 25 years police service.
From the cottage, Armstrong marched his victim for miles, eventually ending up here at his Dunfermline home where the attacks continued. 26-year-old Armstrong only spoke to the girl to tell her what to do, to shut up and to stop shivering. As night became day, there was another return trip to the cottage. Armstrong initially said he'd let her go, a lie that led to more abuse. He took her back to his home again, and then he made her walk around 10 miles. Finally, in the early hours of the Saturday morning, the girl's 32-hour ordeal ended here at the entrance to this country park. Armstrong had walked her here, gave her back her mobile phone and left her. She called her mother, who came to get her. Police described the mother hugging her daughter. The girl was shaking, crying and occasionally howling. Today at the High Court in Glasgow, the judge, Lady Wise, handed Mark Armstrong a lifelong restriction order and told him he will have to serve a minimum of 4 years in prison before he can be considered for release.
There will be no assessment carried out and no consideration by the parole board for 4 years, but that does not mean that in 4 years' time Mark Armstrong will be released. The key element of this sentence is the order for lifelong restriction. What that means is that Mark Armstrong will remain under the supervision of the state for the rest of his life, and that he'll remain in custody until such time as it's assessed that he no longer presents a risk to the public. That may never happen.
Mark Armstrong already had a number of convictions for crimes of violence. Tonight, police say it's due to the courage and bravery of his 15-year-old victim that he's back in jail. Katrina Renton, reporting Scotland, Dunfermline.
You're watching Reporting Scotland, and still to come on tonight's programme, Glasgow Film Festival gets underway with a premiere of Hail Caesar with George Clooney as a hapless Hollywood movie star.
And in sport, the Premiership chairman who's urging his players to redeem their professional reputation, the goals from 2 dramatic Scottish Cup ties and more.
If you go to your doctor with a mild mental illness, you may find yourself offered an online self-help course while you wait to see a specialist. More than 1 in 4 of us experience a mental health problem every year, placing a huge strain on health services. Well, as part of a week of special reports on mental health, our health correspondent Eleanor Bradford is here with an analysis of the situation in Scotland. Eleanor.
Jackie, it's hard to compare how our mental health services measure up to others in the UK. We know that some people wait a long time in Scotland. 1 in 5 people wait longer than 18 weeks to see a psychologist. More than 1 in 4 children and adolescents wait longer than 18 weeks to see a specialist. Northern Ireland is doing better. Nearly everyone there is seen within 9 weeks. In Wales, in general, children wait much longer, but most adults are seen quickly. In England, they're only just starting to measure weights and haven't published any data yet. Across the UK, 1 in 3 GP appointments are related to mental health. Health chiefs in Scotland are trying out online self-help courses for the most common complaints, anxiety and depression, and they've really taken off. Aileen was told she'd have to wait 6 months to see a bereavement counsellor. While she waited, her GP suggested she try out this online course.
Basically, it was sitting in front of your laptop or your iPad, whatever, once a week with a cup of coffee. So I was a wee bit sceptical. I thought, is this going to work or not? But I gave it a go and I found it really, really good. The course is in cognitive behavioural therapy, which teaches coping strategies for life's difficulties.
We've got a good team behind us, and that's the whole reason it's actually gone so well.
Professor Kevin Power is leading a trial of the courses in nearly half of Scotland's health boards. 3 times as many people as expected have signed up for them.
It can be delivered very quickly indeed. Individuals can use it whenever they wish. Later on at night when the kids are in bed, and they can rehearse it again and go back to it for booster sessions at any time they wish. So it is really user-friendly. It's there for them when they want it.
These courses have their critics. One study found that many people give up before completing them. Aileen admits she didn't do it all, but says it's still the best treatment she's ever had.
I noticed a difference even in my sleep patterns and ideas that they gave you for dropping off to sleep. I tried some of those and you could tell within a few days, that they really worked. Now, online courses will never replace therapists, but it could cut down on the number of sessions someone needs, which would cut waiting times for everyone. And there's more encouraging news. The suicide rate is falling. Stigma around mental illness is reducing. And a survey indicated that people living in Scotland and Northern Ireland are the most satisfied in the UK, and people in the Western Isles are the happiest of all. You can check out more facts and features in the special In the Mind section of the BBC website. Jackie.
Thanks, Eleanor. The council that had hoped to put up the council tax has set its budget. You'll recall Murray Council dropped the plan, so instead councillors have narrowly backed moves to put up the charges for some services instead. Well, meanwhile, councils across Scotland are looking at cuts and savings. Most are set to receive less from the government than they'd originally expected. Here's our local government correspondent, Jamie McIver.
Could this special bus service be under threat? These pensioners are worried about the future of their dial-a-bus service.
It's very important. I would hate to have to be in the house all the time. I would go mad if I had to do that.
Really important for getting out and about.
In Falkirk, the council's been debating how to save £25 million in the coming year. The money that helps pay for this service may go, and the dilemmas facing Falkirk are typical. For example, Angus Council is looking at cutting 170 jobs, and another, Argyll and Bute, is getting rid of librarians in secondary schools. But the one thing no one's doing is putting up the council tax. One council, Murray, had proposed an 18% rise, but the government made it clear that any council that put up council tax would lose millions. So today, Murray chose other ways to balance its books. School dinner prices are going up, and so is the cost of music tuition.
What it seems now is that local government is seen as a means of simply managing some central government ambition, diktat, call it what you will.
But the local SNP argue the council could save money in other ways.
We've set out as a party various reductions to administrative costs across a range of services, and that protects frontline services. We believe that there could be a management restructure.
Back in Falkirk, there could be hope for the pensioners. The council's discussing just now whether to look again at the bus service. A decision's due any moment. Most other councils should set their budgets in the next few weeks. Jamie McIver, reporting Scotland.
We'll now look at other stories from across the country. A man's appeared in court charged with murder after the death of a woman in Aberdeen. The body of 37-year-old Jessica McGrath was discovered at a flat on Union Terrace on Friday afternoon. Bala Chinda, who's 25, was charged with murder and theft. He made no plea and was remanded in custody. Several secondary schools in Western Bartonshire will be closed tomorrow because of a teachers' strike. It's the second stoppage by the EIS in just over a month. The dispute is over plans to reduce the number of principal teachers. The task force set up to minimise the effect of the closure of Texas Instruments in Greenock has met the American owners for the first time. More than 350 jobs will be lost over the next 3 years if a buyer can't be found.
I mean, I'm disappointed that Texas Instruments have made the final decision to close the plant, but they are very much committed to finding a prospective buyer. They're engaging a reputable company who've got worldwide expertise in the semiconductor industry, and I think there's a clear commitment there to find a buyer.
Andy Murray's baby daughter has been named Sophia Olivia. The tennis star didn't disclose the name when his wife gave birth on the 7th of February. Bookmakers are already offering bets on Murray Jr. winning Wimbledon. David Courage just said she's already ranked #1. No, we joke.
Shall I continue?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jack. Yes, Dundee United's chairman is apologising for the club's latest defeat, calling it abysmal. Stephen Thompson's also challenging his players to redeem their professional reputations by avoiding relegation from the Premiership. That's after United lost 3-0 to Motherwell last night, leaving them 13 points adrift at the bottom. Here's Jane Lewis.
When Scott McDonald sealed a 3-0 defeat for Dundee United, the boos rang out at Tannadice. And these Dundee United fans had seen enough. McDonald had scored 8 minutes before his winner. Prior to that, Stephen McManus had got Motherwell on their way. Another defeat, but with it this time quite a reaction from the Dundee United chairman. I would like to apologise to all Dundee United supporters for the abysmal performance last night, adding the current position at the bottom of the Premiership is wholly unacceptable. Apologies aside, there was also criticism. The current playing squad, he says, now have 13 matches to preserve the club's Premiership status and redeem their own professional reputations.
Do you concede that trying to stay up, it does look pretty desperate?
Yeah, it's a long road. It's a really long road. So, but you know, what we can do now is making sure that we concentrate on the next match.
And after the chairman's statement came supporters' reaction. These tweets to BBC Scotland, just some of their thoughts. Sale of players last year, poor leadership. That's Stephen Thompson. Another one says, if he hadn't lost the squad before, he certainly has now. And this one reads, far too little, far too late. Dundee United are 13 points adrift of their nearest rivals in the Premiership. Next up, a home game with Hearts.
The top 2 clubs in the Championship are through to the quarter-finals of the Scottish Cup at the expense of Premiership opponents. In replays last night, Rangers won at Kilmarnock, while Hibs beat Hearts. John Barnes has more.
Only one goal was scored at Easter Road as Hibernian progressed to the quarter-finals of the Scottish Cup. Jason Cummings claimed it with his 4th goal in his last 4 Edinburgh derbies, but his celebrations also earned him a booking. Hearts too had the ball in the net, not once but twice. Abiola Dauda had his effort disallowed for offside. While in the second half, Juanma also fell victim to the offside rule, just as he thought he'd equalised. Hearts were reduced to 10 men when Blazai Augustine was sent off for a 2nd yellow card. And the Hibs goal hero Cummings was ruled out of the quarter-final against Inverness when he saw red for a 2nd booking. Rangers took an early lead in their replay against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. Martin Waghorn was downed in the box by Stevie Smith, and Waghorn himself took the penalty kick for his 28th goal of the season. Kelly responded pretty quickly though, and that was courtesy of Rory Mackenzie's strike. But just when it looked like the game was heading for extra time, Nicky Clark pounced in the 2nd minute of stoppage time to earn Rangers the victory and leave Kelly pondering what might have been.
Set play, so important in modern day football, and to switch off is criminal. But we need to dust ourselves down and go again for the weekend.
So 2 top flight clubs bow out as Rangers and Hibs of the Championship march on.
Now, it's not been a vintage Six Nations so far for Scotland. They've played 2 and lost 2. The next match is away to Italy a week on Saturday. Vern Cotter's team are already preparing for their trip to Rome, but today they took time out to meet some of their most fervent supporters.
Putting padding on their legs and off doing some sort of try work maybe.
Anyone here look like an Italian spy to you? No? Good. Scotland training is usually conducted in secret, but today it's doors open day when fans can watch the team prepare for the match against Italy, get a personal memento of the day and be quizzed by me about the team's Six Nations showing so far.
They're okay with their attack, but rubbish with their defence. Yeah, I agree.
Our hopes get raised every time and then it's like, oh no. But we remain hopeful.
Defeat by Wales at the weekend was Scotland's 9th on the spin, but their most capped forward thinks the losing streak may be about to come to an end.
The performance was better than against England, and we just have to make sure that we keep developing that and get the result across in Italy and start a roll of victories.
OK, I'm going to conduct a highly unscientific experiment here. If you think Scotland can beat Italy, I want you to give me a high five as I walk along the line. If you think they can't, keep your hands by your sides. We ready? Here we go. Oh. That's pretty magnanimous. Confidence is high then as Scotland prepare to face Italy, but it all depends on what these guys do on the pitch. Scottish middle distance runner Laura Muir says at the moment she's happy to go to the Olympics in Rio despite concerns over the Zika virus. Muir is preparing to compete in this weekend's indoor international athletics meeting in Glasgow, and she hopes to make the British team for this summer's Olympics. Organisers insist the outbreak of the mosquito-borne disease won't threaten the Games.
I trust that the British Olympic Association will keep us best informed and just have to wait until close to time really.
It certainly wouldn't be right now. I mean, obviously we might learn more things about it, but right now it's not going to stop you from going to Rio, is it?
No, not at all. No, I'm just going to keep on training and hopefully come summertime everything will be okay.
That's the spirit and that's the sport.
Thank you very much, David. The 12th Glasgow Film Festival gets underway this evening with a UK premiere of the film Hail Caesar, starring one George Clooney. It's one of a number of sold-out events. Our arts correspondent Pauline McLean's report from Glasgow Film Theatre contains some flashing images.
Well, guests are already arriving here tonight for the sold-out, much-anticipated UK premiere of Hail Caesar. It stars George Clooney as a hapless Hollywood actor, a role he's played for these filmmakers, the Coen brothers, before. It also features their regulars Scarlett Johansson, Tatum Channing, Tilda Swinton and Josh Brolin. And the festival's co-directors, Alan Hunt and Alison Gardner, are here with me now. Alan, first of all, I mean, you've not got Clooney, but quite a coup to have this film.
Yeah, I mean, we're absolutely thrilled to have who wouldn't want a new Coen brothers film, and because it's a film about films, it's like the perfect opening night for any film festival. It's kind of nostalgic for that Hollywood studio era, but it has sort of dark, melancholy things that you'd expect from a typical Coen brothers film.
And Alison, this festival very much celebrating film fans as much as film stars, so, you know, it's the people who count really for this.
As we say every year, it's all about the audience. The audience make it better every year. It's great when we have guests and we are always warmly welcome, and our audience are fantastic for guests. They're the icing on the cake.
You have some pretty big names coming. If you're talking Hollywood royalty, you don't get much bigger than Richard Gere, who's chosen to bring his film here. Tell us about that.
Richard Gere is coming for his film Time Out of Mind, which he also produced. It's a very different film for him. He's playing a homeless man in New York, and it's how that whole problem of getting lost in a system that doesn't know how to kind of help someone in his position. It's a film that he cares very passionately about. He's very passionate about the issue of homelessness. He's going to be working with The Big Issue for the film's release in the UK. And I think, you know, you come to Glasgow and it's a bit more exciting, a bit more out of the usual. It's not just another London premiere. So it's a good launching pad for his film, I think.
And the festival runs until February the 28th. Many of those events already sold out, many of those films already sold out. So the advice, if you're coming along, is to book ahead.
Thank you, Pauline. Now here's David Henderson with details of this evening's Scotland 2016.
Tonight, does Scotland need to rethink the way it delivers health care? An expert report says complex operations need to be done in specialist units. But does that leave any room for the local hospitals which were recently saved from closure? We'll have the full story over on BBC Two Scotland at 10:30 tonight.
In the meantime, Christopher's here to tell us what the weather has in store.
Jackie, thank you very much indeed. Good evening to you. Well, it's a case of things brightening up from the west today. A lovely picture taken by one of our weather watchers on the Argyll coast, looking over towards Mull. But those clear skies coming in this afternoon tonight mean it will be cold and indeed frosty. Here's a chart from 7, and still a feed of showers across the west-northwest, wintry at times, and a risk of ice. So Met Office yellow be aware warning in force all the way down towards Ayrshire. East of here, though, for most of the mainland, it's dry, clear and cold, and with those clear skies, quite frosty, temperatures sub-zero. But again, clear skies by night. By day means plenty of sunshine. As tomorrow morning, a crisp, dry start for many. Still a few showers, though, in the west-northwest, and that risk of ice through the course of the morning. And with the westerly winds, 1 or 2 of those showers pushing through the Forth Clyde Valley. But plenty of sunshine towards central and eastern parts of the country. And again, with that westerly breeze, some shelter from Ireland across the south, so reasonably dry here. Temperatures 4 or 5 Celsius. The chance of 1 or 2 showers pushing through the central belt over towards the capital. But really, most of them sort of Argyll northwards. In towards Stirlingshire, Perthshire, Fife, Angus, Aberdeenshire, plenty of sunshine. Similar to in towards Inverness in the far north. But again, a few showers holding on across the northwest. 1 or 2 of those heavy with the odd rumble of thunder and some hail in the mix as well. Into Thursday evening, again, 1 or 2 showers pushing through the central belt. But the further east that you are, generally, the drier it will be. Showers, though, holding on in the west-northwest. All changed, though, as we head through towards the end of the week with this weather front on its way in, bringing a spell of wet and windy weather, but improving by the afternoon. So after a dry, frosty start in the east, cloudy and wet in the west, the cloud and rain works its way eastwards, and then by afternoon, just drying up a touch, albeit with a few showers, highs of 7 or 8, quite breezy at times. Then to the weekend, on Saturday, an area of rain to the south of Scotland. Its northern extent open to some doubt, but really the interesting weather, if you like, is Sunday. This area of rain coming in, meeting the cold air, likely to see a significant spell of snow for some. We'll keep you posted, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Christopher. And that's Reporting Scotland. I'm back with the headlines at 8 and the late bulletin. Until then, from everyone in the team, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.